It's supposed to feel.
Yo, 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 welcome to Starbucks. I am your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, my co-host, Jim Rosati. Jim, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
I felt very awkward doing this.
Doing what?
Seems like it's been so long since we've done a normal show.
Yeah, it's been a bit. We've been on location the last few times.
Yeah. I was like, uh-oh, what do I say here? What do I do? This is just a normal thing. But yeah, anyways, like I said, happy Monday. Happy Monday, fresh off the winter meetings. Happy Monday, fresh off the Enmanuel Valdez trade.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. That powered me through waking up this morning.
Ben Sherrington collecting light hitting middle infielders who can't really play defense like they're infinity stones. Just trying to get all of them.
Had there been a slide, you'd have to go down it again, right? Technically speaking.
Yeah. If this move had happened during winter meetings, it's a major league player. He's on the 40-man. He's got experience.
2 slides.
This would have been a slide.
There it is. Good morning. So, with that being said, Jim, we have a packed show to talk about things today. Kind of, sort of. Basically the fallout of the winter meetings, the move that happened, and some things here and there. But I guess before we go any further, we should tell you all that BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC, head to BetOnline today. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, Jim, again, like the fallout of the MLB winter meetings, we discussed some things, and we had Noah on, about Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, their availability and such. Feel like it's our time to maybe talk and put our spin on it. And again, the big trade that happened this weekend. So, where do you want to start? Where do you want to go with this?
Let's start with Valdez.
Okay, we can do that. So, kind of out of nowhere, the Pirates made a trade yesterday, and it was for a major league hitter, something the Pirates are looking at, a middle infielder of that, and it came from Boston. Shockingly, Boston, a team that Ben Sherrington is very familiar with, and they gave up a 19th rounder. The 19th round pick from last year hasn't really seen a day in the minor leagues anywhere. Gets drafted and says, "See you later, buddy. We don't need you." I think there's a couple layers to this, but yeah. So again, Enmanuel Valdez is the player that the Pirates traded for, and they got 25-year-old, like I mentioned, middle infielder. Has an option left. So, like how we do things, Jim. What was your initial reaction when seeing this?
Initial reaction was just, I understand like making depth moves are a thing, right? Like you have to do them. You need depth. Every team does stuff like this, but I feel like every time you're like wanting something to happen, this is just the kind of move that we get, and it's just so underwhelming. I mean, listen, this guy's a left-handed hitting middle infielder. He can play a little bit of corner outfield. I mean, he's done it in the past, not a ton, but like a few games here, a few games there. For the most part, this dude is a second baseman and a third baseman. And he's not a very good one at that. He's a rather poor fielding infielder. He was in the third percentile last year in outs above average. He was in the sixth percentile in arm strength. So, like, good luck really putting him anywhere other than second base.
Good luck.
But even when he's there, like, it's a rough performance. I guess if there's one thing to sort of be excited about, it's, he does have a little bit of pop. He's got 12 major league home runs and 340 at bats. But outside that, like, there's nothing else here to be excited about. It's not enough power to make up for his lack of hitting and on base skills and lack of fielding. So like he's my initial thought here was, okay, if this is a direct depth replacement for G1 Bay, then sure, cool. But like, that's such a low bar. I mean, it's like if this guy is a replacement for the guy who's given you like -1 WAR over the last 2 seasons, then sure. But like that's it. Like again, like how many of these guys do you really need on your team? The Pirates have a bunch of guys like this where they're fringy bench bats, like fringe bench bats by the
Right.
depth of the word.
Right.
And I mean, that's what he is. He's someone who, if you need someone in a pinch to be your backup infielder, he can technically do the job.
It's tough, man. Again, we're talking about initial reactions here, and my initial reaction just first off, who both ends. Like, who is this other guy as well? And it's funny because like I'll go to Fangraphs immediately and type in the name, and he couldn't even be found. He's like not even in the database. So I'm like, what is going on? This is weird. Let me try Baseball Reference. I put him in Baseball Reference, and then he pops up. Not by because I type in his name and he comes up as an option. It's because I had to hit enter, and it goes to the page, and there's nothing there. It's all college stuff, and I was like, oh, he was last year's draft pick, and he hasn't played any minor league games with the Pirate system. So my initial reaction was, okay, now here's the thing too. I know I've read Enmanuel Valdez's name because I looked at the Boston Red Sox's 40-man at one point in time recently, just talking about trades. We were talking about options like Mitch Keller. Boston was a team that, I felt like this trade of like a Jared Jones, Mitch Keller could possibly happen. Yeah. So that's how I remember the name of. It's like, oh, I know he's a player, but he was just traded for a 19th rounder that hasn't seen the minor leagues yet. That tells me his value right there. Teams are like, wait, our 18th rounder? We're not going to go that deep into our pockets here. So that was my initial reaction. Now, like looking into it's like, okay, so let me put on the actual NS9 cap here. How am I going to talk about this? And I go to his Baseball Savant page. I go to his, Baseball Reference page, his Fangraphs and all that. I'm looking at it, and it's like, you know what? Technically speaking, you want to call this a win? It's a win. Like, this is a guy who's reached the major leagues for a person who's probably never going to reach AAA. Like, in a vacuum, it's a win. It's a win. Like, you traded your 19th rounder last year for a guy who can play in the major leagues to some level of degree.
Technically speaking, yeah.
Technically speaking. So yes, the trade is a win. But it's like, and I'll talk more of the player itself later after you. But it's like, at what point, I mean, this is 6 years. This is year number 6 for Ben Cherington. 5 years he's been collecting middle infielder after middle infielder after middle infielder. Like, you should have Enmanuel Valdez all throughout your system. If you're still needing to trade, like if you have to trade your 19th rounder to give yourself middle infield depth at this point, that says a lot about you right now. That's my thing. And again, like the trade's fine. Like the trade's fine. I'm not poo-pooing the trade. I can't believe like it's a whatever move. It's a whatever move. I could care less if this trade happened. It's just the point that it's like your 19th rounder had value for your major, like your thought process on this depth. Again, how many middle infielders have you collected? And like you're still doing this. You should have Enmanuel Valdez already stocked, ready to go. Whatever.
Yeah, and I mean they do. Like they've got plenty of guys like this just sitting around. Tristan Gray, who was acquired earlier this offseason. Again, G1 Bay is a player to this effect. They've got plenty of these guys. You mentioned, in a vacuum, the steal's fine. Yeah, like you said. I mean, you trade your 19th round pick, who's probably not going to make the majors, and you got a by definition of the word, you got a major leaguer in return, right? In a vacuum, this trade is just fine. And I feel like a lot of trades and moves that the Pirates make are fine in a vacuum, right? The problem is when all you do are things that are fine in a vacuum. Eventually, your team starts taking on the characteristics of an actual vacuum. And guess what vacuums do, DiNardo? They suck. They suck, right? So it's like, yeah, this move's fine, but like when you just keep doing moves like this, you suck. Like this is like you said, it's a nothing move. It's a nothing move. It's not a move to get excited about. It's not a move to get upset about. It's a move that happened. Enmanuel Valdez by no means should break camp with the major league team. He's your AAA second baseman. Like he's Indianapolis's second baseman probably. Part-time second baseman probably.
Right. It's just kind of funny because we're talking about, is this G1 Bay's like replacement? Jesus, can we step up from G1 Bay?
Right.
I honestly look at this and I'm like, you might have to argue who's better. Like, is this actually his replacement? Because I'm not even quite sure. I just feel like I guess they do things better or differently. I should say, not better. Some things do. Like G1 Bay certainly is fast. This guy, not so much. G1 Bay is certainly athletic. I'm not saying this guy's not athletic, but G1 Bay should be a better defender than what he is. Like especially in the outfield. And I feel like that could come. This guy, I doubt. I just doubt. He's actually not even good at second base either. Like you look at defensive run saved, it's negative. He's gonna have a lot of play time there either. But like G1 Bay is like just purely a slap hitter, more or less. Like there's no power. When I look at this guy, the hit tool, understand the level of fascination I'm talking about, kind of fascinates me. Like he does barrel the baseball. Now he doesn't hit it all that hard. I mean, just barely right at league average. Like all his expected numbers aren't really there. His actual numbers aren't there for sure either, right? So, but like he does barrel up the baseball, and like you mentioned, he is a lefty hitter. Some of the Pirates certainly can use. So again, like that's why I don't give up your 19th rounder. Like I don't hate the trade. I just hate like the idea of the trade at this point in time. You still have to worry about like this nothing depth when we still have some real issues out there. And again, that's another thing too. Like every team does this. This isn't just exclusive to the Pirates. This is like every team's going to do these type of things to some level of degree, right? But like, yeah, it's just most teams do things that are at a higher level of this to that degree also.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's he's on the 40-man. We may see him at some point this year, if there's injuries or something. But you don't really want that. Let's just say that.
Right.
I think that's enough words about Enmanuel Valdez.
Okay. That's fair. Should we talk about what the Red Sox got in this deal? I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Joe Vogotsky goes, hey, best of luck in the Boston organization.
There you go. Thanks,
Pittsburgh
Joe.
Pirates era, July 2024 to December 2024, 0 innings pitched.
Pirates legend, Joe.
Yep.
All right. Cool. So Enmanuel Valdez is a Pittsburgh Pirate, at least for now, but probably going forward as well, because there's still plenty that they could trim to keep him, and I assume they want to keep him. All right. So now moving forward from that, we want to talk about the Keller Jones stuff to some level degree here too.
Yeah, let's get into it a little bit.
Where do you want to go with this?
I guess I want to begin. We talked about this on NS9 Live, but it also seemed like that was the day of the news. Fans have kind of had a few days to stew over this. They've had chances to react to it. I guess I'm a little surprised at the reaction. Mainly because I think a lot of people probably could have they could have seen this coming, right? But I'm also a little surprised that that like people are giving the Pirates the benefit of the doubt here on some stuff. And if kind of all over Twitter, it just seemed like there were some people who were almost upset at the report and
Okay.
like the wording of the report. You trade a guy like Mitch Keller to trim payroll. Now, what you do with that trim payroll is entirely up to the Pirates. You would assume that if you're trading Mitch Keller to trim payroll by $15 million, right, that you're going to go spend it on some other piece of your team, whether that's the return of the trade or whether that's an entirely different move altogether. But at the same time, like, you can't give the Pirates the benefit of the doubt that they would do that, right? Like, let's assume Keller's gone. You just freed up $15 million, so now you got more money to spend. I don't know, like, you want to go and see them do that, but like the assumption shouldn't be that. When have they showed that in the past? Like, when have they significantly raised payroll in the past? So like I just wanted to just say, like, the Pirates deserve all the heat for this. Like, if you got on them for making Mitch Keller available, like Tyler did last Wednesday night, they deserve it. Like, if you don't want people to get mad, like, or if you're a fan and you're like, hey, why are people so mad at this? Like, win some ball games. Prove that you know what you're doing. Spend some money every now and then. I'm gonna get into this, but OG Minlow, who's in the comments, he's valuable member of our community, especially on the Discord. He's been on Sicko Sound Off a few times. He put some really cool numbers together, and if you haven't joined our Discord, do it, because there's some really neat stuff in there from last night, and I'll talk about it later today. But yeah, I mean, this team can spend money. They can. And we're not asking them to spend money like the Dodgers or the Mets or the Yankees. We're asking them to spend money like the Brewers and the Reds and the Rockies. Like, that's what we're asking here. The
About
Pirates
to be
signed Mitch.
asking, like the Athletics.
Yeah, like the Pirates signed Mitch Keller to this deal because he's valuable. Like this is a valuable deal that the Pirates have Mitch Keller on. The reason why he's valuable to other teams is the same reason why he's valuable to the Pirates. We know what starting pitchers are going for. If Mitch Keller were on the open market right now, he'd be getting $25+ million a year.
Yeah.
He's not. He's getting 15, which means you just got $10 million in surplus value, market value with Mitch Keller with this current deal that he's on. That's value to you. You need to utilize that value. You've got a $25 million pitcher on your roster for $15 million. Go and just spend money on another good player. You don't have to trade your valuable assets like Mitch Keller to go out there and acquire somebody else. You shouldn't have to do that. Payroll's sitting at like $80 million right now. There's no excuse. There's no excuse whatsoever why you should have to move Keller, to trim payroll, to open up flexibility on your finances. None.
Yep.
None. So like I understand the wording, and it's like he's been made available. He shouldn't be made available. Like Mitch Keller's your number 2 starter. If someone comes calling about Mitch Keller, your answer is like, he's not available, but if you want to blow me away, go for it. Like that's
Sure.
the answer, right? It's not, oh yeah, we'll listen to offers on him. Hey, he's definitely available. We could use that money on someone else, right? Like that's not the answer to that question. And the fact that it seems like, according to league sources, he's available. Like
And
that's
Jared's very available.
yeah, and Jared Jones is available too. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You don't trade these guys unless you're blown away. If you're asked if they're available, the answer is no, not really, but give it a shot if you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's your answer. It's not. I'm not dangling these two guys to improve the team. You've got plenty of money. You got plenty of money. And I'll get into it, but you got plenty of money.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. And honestly, that's one thing that I felt as well. A lot of people were hung up on, of course, that became their headline. The Pirates are trimming payroll. The Pirates are looking to trade Mitch Keller to cut payroll. And so, like, you're taking out of, in bad faith, what was reported, what was said in that, to make another argument that fits the narrative. So, like, I get that. But what you're saying is absolutely true. And like what Noah said in there, like it is true. The reason you are trading Mitch Keller is because you don't want to just add the $15 million bat. You want to add the $15 million bat by reducing $15 million in your payroll, which requires trading Mitch Keller to do so. So now it's an even wash, right? So yes, again, like you're looking for that financial flexibility. You're trimming the payroll by trading Mitch Keller. So that way, and again, that's the difference. That's why he stressed it, when we had him on. This isn't just like we need to cut payroll. We're trading Mitch Keller. Goodbye. Now that 80 million to 65 million. It's we need to upgrade offense. We've failed. We've struck out in ways that we're trying to do it. Our probably our best opportunity to do so is to trade Mitch Keller, because we need that bat who's going to cost $15 million on the trade market. Again, like we're talking about Yandy Diaz and stuff like that, like they're 10 million plus. And so again, like I don't think the Pirates are done in doing that. Like they're probably still adding another bat somewhere else, but it's like, if there's a big thumper, it's not coming on the free agent market we see. So it's probably coming to the trade market, and those guys are going to cost some money. So we got to wash it out by trading Mitch Keller. And like Noah said, which I agree with, and that's kind of my point. And I'll talk more about this also again, but it's like you could probably trade him and get a bat and maybe a prospect, maybe something else in return. Like, it depends on like the level of bat they are truly getting, the price point of it all, And it's like, so now you have a bat, and once again, like the Horwitz deal, you broke even. That's like kind of the mindset. So now we still have the same type of payroll, so we still have flexibility to go out there and keep adding. I think that's what was kind of missed. A lot of people saw flexibility word, that's one of the buzzwords, payroll flexibility. And we all know how that happens. Like you said, the having the faith in them. Like the last time I shouldn't say the last time we heard it, but I think like the most notable time we heard it was when Liriano went to Toronto. And like, did you ever really see those funds come back and be utilized? Did you ever see in the future? No, you just saw payroll continue to be cut until here we are today. So I guess that's where, like, should you have trust that they'll do it? Like, I get that as well. But I understand the idea appears to be this. So yeah, like I think there was certainly some unwarranted backlash from that. But again, understanding how the Pirates operate, I think they should do exactly like you said. I think they can certainly just continue. They don't have to trade Mitch Keller to add at bat. They should just continue because, and again, I don't care how they're motivated to do it, but like the A's are out here spending money. Like I feel like every offseason we're talking about all these other teams that pretty much mirror the Pirates and how they operate and whatever, and like they're doing the things like the Royals last year. Like the Royals went out and spent some damn good money, and look what it got them. And it's like, oh, that was just, oh, those moves are just terrible. Oh, the Royals are they're going to regret all this. That's just terrible. They're just spending money to spend money. Like, look where they got them. And now it's like, it's Oakland that's doing it. It's like, okay, so you have teams that play pretty much the type of game the Pirates play, and now they're doing it in another stratosphere. So, like, why do the Pirates have to trade Mitch Keller to add this bat?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Like, you shouldn't have to do this. Payroll's low enough right now, and you've got enough wiggle room, and you've got Paul Skeens on your team. Like, this is the time to go for it. This isn't the time to cut corners. And Nolan says here, like, we just gave the Pirates a ton of credit last year for signing Keller long term. It wasn't something that they typically do, and they did it. And now 1 year later, because you did it, he now has all this value. So you're just gonna go and shop him. It's like he's got value because he's good and he's making less than what he should be. That should be a valuable asset to the Pirates. You're in need of good players right now. Hold on to the ones that you have. That's just kind of where I'm at right now. Armand asks too in the comments, if the Red Sox offered Tristan Casas for Jones or Keller, would you do it? And my answer is no, absolutely not. Like, just go out there and buy.
Questions there. If I just add 2 cents on this real quick too, the Jones, no, but again, like I could be talked in Keller. If there's a package, if it's Casas, well, I guess now actually never mind, because with Horvitz there, that doesn't make much sense. So no,
like just go out there and buy. Go out there and buy a Tristan Casas type bat. They're there. Hey, Oscar Hernandez is out there available. Anthony Santander is out there available. Christian Walker is out there available. You can go out there and just buy these guys without having to give up a valuable asset. And I don't want to hear that the Pirates can't afford any of those people. Because if you sign any of those guys and just do what you were normally going to do this offseason, payroll's what? 120? 125?
Yeah. Right.
That's less than the Brewers spent last year. And you're not going to convince me that the Pirates can't do that. It's just they won't, and they aren't, because for some God knows reason, this team just operates so conservatively. They don't push the button on anything. And like I said, I want to kind of segue this into, again, join our Discord. It's great, and you can kind of read up all the stuff on this. But I want to show what OG Minlow put together. And again, shout out OG, you're great. Like, this stuff's awesome. I'm not gonna, I want to make sure you get a ton of credit for this, but this is what was like. So Forbes announced their numbers this past week, right? And this is super nerdy, right? But the things I want you to take from this, there's a few educated guesses on here, but the Pirates last year took in revenues of roughly $308 million. Right? Payroll was $87 million.
Mm-hmm.
It costs about $165 million to run a Major League Baseball team, just non-payroll expenses. That means payroll could have been $143 million. That's your break-even point. Now, some of these numbers are derived from equations. Some of these are educated guesses, but like we're within a pretty small margin here. Like we could be off. Like OG could be off here, but like we're probably not off by a whole lot. Let's just say that we're off by $20 million somehow, right?
Sure.
That means we're still looking at you could throw $120 million payroll out there. So just when you put this on paper and you really break it down, like how much money do you get from media? How much money do you get from merchandise? How much money do you get from gate receipts? This is all it right here. And this is saying Pirates could have spent $143 million last year and broke even. Now again, it could be a little off. But I'm just like, this is basically just saying they don't have to trade Mitch Keller. Just go out there and buy somebody.
What I think, and also OG, like, awesome job there. Very informative. And like you said, like there's certainly a margin of error, and we'll play, like you mentioned, with the $20 million worth.
Yeah, that's
of
a
error
huge margin,
right?
Like, yeah, that's a big margin.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a bunch of unknown, and I get that, but there's also the level of that's just this year. Like payroll's been 60 million, 70 million, last year to 80 million. So how much have they been banking during that tenure? Like this is the time, like talked about, like when it's time to spend, we'll spend. And again, this is the time. If right now the break even is, like you mentioned, 120, maybe now the time is to break even because you already have all these funds just stacked up that you've been collecting, right? As a business person, you want to make money, and I get that. So you've done good business, right? You haven't put out a good product, but you've done good business for some years now. Maybe it's time to invest into that business and air quotes break even, because by investing into this ball club, you might get some extra returns as well. So we think the break even's the 140, or again, with that margin of error, maybe it's 120. But you know what, Jim? Maybe you make some money this year because that total of the fans increases. And I don't know, how much money do you make when you play in the playoffs? Because it sounds like you get a pretty good return. And I don't know, if you're good enough to go to the damn World Series, it sounds like you get a really good return. So maybe it's time to, now you have a product here to actually invest into and not just do good business, do both. And if you know what? If you only break even this year, I guess you only broke even this year. I guess you can only sit on the millions you've had all of the time to go for. But yes, I'm with you to stop that and charade here. Like, yeah, like the Royals spent like their payroll last year was $122 million. Like that's what you were alluding to. Like just do what the lowly Kansas City Royals did last year. So instead of trading Mitch Keller, just go get that bat and have Mitch Keller. And like we talked about to some level of degree, and I know there's more on it. And again, I'll kind of clarify that here later as well. But at the trade deadline, there's potential to have a plethora of arms. Like you don't even have to stop. The trade deadline comes and you have all these arms waiting. Like you have no room to go. You can trade and do even better. Maybe add on team, or I don't know. Maybe you do make a trade to load up some more prospect capital or such, but like you can do more at the deadline. This is the team that you could make a lot of people happy and confident around and excited about. So when you're going into the season, there's a level of excitement and ticket sales go up. And there's enough talent that if you add on to it and really get some talent, the team can do something, which means ticket sales go up. And there's this window, and this person named Paul Skeens, and Paul Skeens is already going to make ticket prices and ticket sales go up. But like, that's going to be there again next year and the year after. Invest in this club because there's real opportunity to get returns on your investment.
Yeah.
Don't be so risk adverse.
It's yeah, it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating because, like I said, we're not asking for a whole lot. We're not asking for a lot here. The Marlins last year had a payroll pushing 110. And I don't know if the Marlins had a game where they drew more than 10 million fans all game. Like, I
Right.
mean, this is who we're talking about. Like, the Marlins are greatly outspending you. The Brewers are greatly outspending you. The Royals are greatly outspending you. These are all teams that you can spend like. Like, you can't. You won't convince me that you can't spend like these teams. Yet they won't. And they don't. And it's frustrating because this team, a lot of their problems could be solved right now if you just spend a little bit of money. That's all you gotta do. Like, that's all you have to do is spend a
Yeah.
little bit of money.
Yeah.
You don't have to get all that creative. Like, we keep talking about these creative things that this team can do with trades and such. You don't have to get all that creative. You can just go out there and buy your players. And the money should be there.
Yeah. Another thing to point out here, because I feel like every offseason there is that team to talk about. And again, there's reason, like there's good reason to expand and not just look at the Pirates. We talked about like, bringing up these other teams. There's reason because it brings perspective. And this year, it's Oakland. And again, I don't care how it's motivated. I don't care because it's probably the MLBPA pressuring them, or they can avoid getting a grievance filed and all this, right? The fact is they're doing it. And if they are doing, like, if they're afraid of a grievance is done because you're not doing what you can do. So if in turn you're afraid of getting caught, you go out and do what you should do. And they're doing that. Like, they're out there spending money. They added Luis Severino. They were apparently in on Max Fried. And they're not done. They made a trade, with Tampa for another starter in Springs. Like they're doing things. There was only one team the Pirates were above last year in payroll. One team. And it was Oakland. And now that team's doing what they're doing. And that's what frustrates me on this. And I know I talked about you could talk me into Mitch Keller. And the whole premise of that is because of the Pirates seemingly capping themselves at the 100 million. We're not even sure if they're going to get there. Probably close, but we're not even sure if they're going to get there. Certainly not going to be a 120 million club. That's not how they're operating right now. Not with Enmanuel Valdez. So like they're probably going to be about that. If you're going into this season, like if we talk about this window and investing, like you have a real opportunity, in front of you, and the only team that you're above last year in payroll is outdoing you this year, that bothers me. And that's what we're alluding to. Like, you could just keep Mitch Keller and add on. And regardless, even if you do trade Mitch Keller because you feel like now the outfield market just not that existent, and I understand it also takes two to tango. Like honestly, what reasons do some of these free agents have to come here? I mean, there are some, not totally poo-pooing, but it's like, you know what? Hey, I could definitely be a New York Yankee right now. Do I really want to be a Pirate, or do I maybe want to be a Yankee? There's two to tango. Maybe the real way for them to add the corner outfielder they want is via trade. But regardless, like this $100 million cap is just asinine.
Yeah. And if the outfielder that you need to acquire via trade, if that's how it is, then go out there and acquire an impact bat without giving up your major league talent. You saw the Cubs do it. I'm not saying go out there and trade for Kyle Tucker, but shit, why not? Why couldn't you?
Yeah.
Other than just we would have spent a lot of money on him this year and then let him walk after a year. Again, I said this about a month ago. I don't care about the future right now. Like, none of us should care about the future right now. I don't care if the Pirates are giving up prospects who can help them in 2028 or 2029 or 2030. Because guess what? By that point, Paul Skeens is gone. So it's like, you know what? Like, go for it right now. He's on your team. He's on, like, he's the Cy Young. He's the favorite for the Cy Young Award next year. Surround him with talent right now. We'll worry about the rest later.
Yeah. Like, I half agree with what you're saying, more than half, but like, reasonably speaking, no one's just going to be crazy and wild. And that's the other thing. I don't think we're asking for that, but I just want to make sure those words don't get put in your mouth. We're not just saying like, hey, be reckless, but we are saying like the window is now. Do what you can to maximize the next 4 to 5 years for sure, especially starting today. Right. So yeah, like, it's not just being like not, which also like, I mean, you could say Dombrowski is reckless, but like he just continues to win everywhere he goes. But like, yeah, it's like, it's not, you're not trying to say like just be completely reckless out there and just throw whatever to get whatever, but do it. Like, do that thing. Trade some players to win now.
Yeah, and
like,
I mean,
for once in your life, like think about winning. Like,
Yeah.
it just seems like
Yeah,
they just
think
don't.
about winning once.
Right.
And you know what? Be reckless. I don't like. I'm going to go ahead and say, like, be reckless. You know who was reckless? The Padres. Right? You could argue the Padres may have
I
been
think they're
reckless the last.
calculated.
Like, I mean, but you could
See,
like,
honestly, I don't think they're too reckless because
they
what
give
did we
up a lot.
praise Preller for? Another haul and like hardly any of the top 100 prospects until Soto.
Until Soto, right? So, but they've given up a lot of their prospect capital over the last year, after the last 4 years or so, right? And they've spent a lot of money on guys. But guess what? Guess who's still standing? Guess who's still there? The San Diego
Right.
Padres are still there. Guess how many top 100 prospects the Padres have after
More.
trading a bajillion players away? They've got the same amount as the Pirates. They've got the number 7 prospect in baseball. Like, just be better, right? Be better at developing players, be better at drafting, be better at identifying talent, and be better at going out there and getting good players. Now, you could say the Padres didn't win anything, so it's like it's all for naught. But guess what the Padres did do? They excited their fan base. They created a generation of Padres diehards who sell out Petco Park every single game. That's a revenue stream. And
They made a lot of
Padres,
money.
yeah, and Padres fans are like, they are Padres fans. They don't hate their team. The Pirates fans legitimately hate their team. Like, we love them because they're the Pirates and like they're ours. We need to love them, but like, they piss us off all the time. They're like they're an abusive girlfriend, right? Who just like cheats on you constantly, but you're like, yeah, you're right. Like, that's who the Pirates are. So it's like they've battled this fan base for not. I mean, 2 generations of Pirates fans have basically just been destroyed by the way this team acts.
Mhm.
Just throw us a bone for once and try. Don't constantly do stuff that pisses us off. Show us that you like actually want to win some baseball games. Show us that you care about winning as much as we do.
Do you know like how on Twitter, and I think, we can relate to this to a degree. You can always tell who the Pirate fan was that became a fan in 13, 14, and 15. Because like they know nothing about beforehand, right? Or like they're fresh, or just like their perspective on things. Like, oh, you just started being a fan then, right? And you find out, yeah. And like you poke at them a bit, whatever. But here's the thing: they became a fan. Damn it! You know why? Because you won. Like you can bring more fans. Like that's what we're alluding to here. Like, yeah, San Diego has drawn more fans. They've created more fans. There's a good buzz around them, and people go to watch the games now. And they now have the next generation of fans in front of them. You did that for a time. Do it again. Create the new people that we're going to make fun of. Like, oh, you started being a fan at 25, huh? Because all you know is Paul Skeens and, and Jared Jones now. You didn't know the things we went through, right? Create those people. We need those people. We need the new fans coming. And then excite the old ones that have been sticking with you for all these damn years where we question, we don't know why and understand. And enough also, we create a podcast to talk about you even more. We're dumb and we're stupid. But but like, yes, again, like invest in this club. Padres, another great example of that, right? And that's so sad. I don't think reckless is a good term to put on them. I think it was very calculated. And that's why I think Preller is a damn good GM. And yes, you can talk about did they win anything? And well, he did what he needed to do to put them in a position to win. A lot of stuff wasn't done on the field and the manager or whatever, right? But like he set them up. Now the next person, this organization, do with their job to get them there. And the other thing too is like you're competing with the Dodgers. Who are the Pirates looking around their backyard? The Brewers? The Cardinals right now? The Reds? The Cubs? You know what I mean? Like, who has had a stranglehold on this division that's like, well, if we're going to compete with this team, we got a there's no one. As we talk about, this division is like the weakest in baseball. Like, just go out there and take it. And I'm not trying to say like the Brewers weren't good, but they don't have a Dodgers in the division. Like the Padres are like, we're sick and tired of this. Like we need to do something. And they did it. And they're still good. And like you said, Jim, and the farm's still there. So do some things. If you really believe in your pitching, your development, then do what the Padres did with their entire minor league system on the pitching side. They just kept turning over fringe top 100 prospect after fringe top 100 prospect to get good players and just reloaded and they didn't touch any of their Bubba Chandlers until Juan Soto. We're not asking for Juan Soto. But now the thing here is I thought the Cubs could do it earlier, but they're here. Like that Kyle Tucker trade, I think signals a lot. There's only 1 year left on that. They didn't trade him for next year. Cubs are going to be ready to go.
Yeah, I mean they've got a good looking lineup, the Cubs. I think their pitching staff leaves a little to be desired, but it's also not bad. Like you look at Shota Imanaga, Justin Steele, Jameson Taillon's coming off a really good season. They just signed Matthew Boyd to a big contract. Who again, like he's a starting pitcher, but like you're not in love with the staff, but you look at like this, it's a major league pitching staff easily, and they've got the best lineup in the division. So, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a battle. You're seeing other teams do something. I would imagine that the Reds certainly are going to be in play for somebody else this offseason. But yeah, it's frustrating because you've got the best pitcher in the world right now. You've got him for a limited time. Just go out there and try.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like, just don't half-ass it like they are. Like really, really try.
Yep. So, with that said, I realized they were going to be about $100 million team. And it's wrong, and it stinks, but that's what they're going to be. And yes, because that's what they're going to be, once again, I am marking it and stamping it. I could be talked into a Mitch Keller trade. I can. Because his offense is going to be putrid again. And that's an opportunity to get a real bat.
Unless you're
the risk rewards there.
Absolutely blowing me away. I can't be talked into it.
I envision a scenario where Mitch Keller is traded. They get a bat. And this is like the perfect world for me, right? Like all the things have to come through. But then they get Charlie Morton. They're like, Charlie, welcome back. Here's where you want to be. We play in Bradenton. We have Brent. Just come back and do your thing and just pitch with Paul Skeens. Like right out into the sunset with Paul Skeens. With Brent by your side once again, like he was in Houston when he turned your career around.
Charlie Morton's going to make $15 million this next year.
Yeah, that's Mitch Keller money.
Yeah, so why don't you just keep Mitch Keller?
Because then you get a bat.
Get a bat a different way. Like
they can't.
Yeah, like
they can't do it. They're getting Enmanuel Valdez's, Jim. This is how they're going to do it.
They can do it. Again, like they can do it. They're just choosing. I can't disagree with what you just said anymore. I just want to put that on the record. I'm not signing a 41-year-old Charlie Morton to replace Mitch Keller.
It's fine. I'm just not wanting a 25-year-old Enmanuel Valdez to be considered. Anyway, I think that wraps up the show. Anything else you want to talk about? Get off your chest?
No, I'm good.
All right. Once again, though, shout out to OG Minlow. That was good work.
Yeah. Great stuff. Again, if you're not in the Discord, join it. There's a link in the description, but a lot of good stuff every day in the Discord. So if you can't get enough Pirates talk, there's like 24-hour Pirates talk in that thing, and among other things too. So if you talk about everything.
Yeah. If you're a sicko, go ahead and join the Discord. There's plenty of sickos there. You can be part of that community. So, yeah, before we go, of course, as always, appreciate everyone who is in here watching. If you haven't joined our Patreon, join our Patreon. We gave another giveaway last night for all the members. You can join our YouTube memberships right now as well. There's probably a join button right below this to get the emojis. So the more members, the more emojis we get. We've added on some more since last NS9 Live as well. So yeah, a lot of perks in here. We'll be back again Wednesday for another NS9 Live. And who knows, maybe some emergency podcasts happen this week, Jim. We'll find out. But yeah, so cool stuff ahead of us. And we'll see you later.
See you guys. All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in, whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube. If you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.